guys, I appreciate so much you filling out the poll that I posted in Live Diet Free. And at the time that I looked at it, the number one reason that a lot of you weren't at your health, weight, happiness goals was not enough time. And now I actually just checked it a minute ago, and lack of motivation is now in the lead, but they were neck and neck, so I am going to start with not having time, and then I'll do a separate video on motivation. But first of all, obviously, if a lot of you are feeling this way, it is not an uncommon thing to feel like there are just not enough hours in the day, that you have so much stuff that you have to get done, that something always has to give, and oftentimes it's our nutrition stuff, it's cooking or meal prepping or grocery shopping, or it's our exercise. So first, it's totally normal, but obviously that doesn't mean we want to just ignore it and continue on the way we have been. We want to try to figure out what we can do about it, how we can change what's happening. So I have 3 steps today to help you find time, and I really hope that you will jot them down, take them seriously, and actually do them, follow through on them, and see what you can learn. Because even though it feels like we don't have time, we do. We all have the same 24 hours, and I know that we've all encountered those people that you're like, how do you possibly have time to do all the things that you do? One of my clients who I trained this morning is just constantly, she has a full-time job and a part-time job, and she's a mom of several, and she volunteers, and she just, every time I talk to her, I'm like, gosh, I feel like I don't get anything done, and you were able to do all of these things and still manage and still, you know, show up to train 3 days a week and that kind of thing. So I know that you've encountered somebody like that, that you're just like, I don't know how you make it work. But hopefully that these 3 tips will kind of help pull back the curtain on that and show you where you can find and create time. So step 1 to finding time is to figure out where your current time is going. And by that I mean get nerdy, get scientific, and chronicle everything you're doing in 15 or 30-minute increments for at least a day, if not 2 or 3, just to kind of get a feel for the trends and, you know, what might change on a day-to-day basis. So I mean, there are websites that do this for you. I'm kind of old school, so I would just take a notebook or a piece of graph paper and I would do it that way. But I mean, write down, I wake up, say I woke up at 5:30 this morning, so 5:30, wake up. Every single thing you do throughout the day, write it down. If you are in a position like I am, where you work for yourself or you have a flexible schedule, write down everything that you're doing at work as well. If you have less freedom within your day, like for example, if you're a teacher, you don't have a whole lot of, you know, wiggle room with what you do with your schedule. You know, first period is going to start at a certain time and you have to be there, and your work day is pretty structured. So if you're in that position that you're just like, I'm in, you know, nonstop meetings, there's like really nothing that I'm going to learn from my actual work day, no big deal, don't stress over that. But everything that you're doing, write that down on your calendar or whatever it is you're using to document this. That means writing down the stuff that you don't want to, that I spent 30 minutes in the bathroom, that I spent 45 minutes on Facebook when I said I was just going to log on and like look at this one quick thing, that I accidentally watched 6 hours of Netflix and like, whoops. So write down everything. It's just like when you keep a food journal, you don't only write down the vegetables, right? You write down the cookies and the crackers and stuff like that, because you're trying to learn something. So nobody's judging this, nobody's going to look at it but you. So really be honest, like, this is what I did. For example, I finished eating breakfast, I was like right on time, I'm trying to be pretty structured with my time. Then I went down and laid on the floor and scrolled through Facebook for, I don't know, 15 minutes, too long. And then I got in the shower. So things like that you don't realize how they're adding up. So I want you to document everything for at least a full day, from the minute you wake up until the time that you go to bed. And that includes the time that you're in bed but not sleeping. That if you get in bed at 9 o'clock and you say you're going to read, but first you're going to check your email, and then you're going to check Instagram, and then you pull out your book, but then like you haven't checked Instagram in a minute, so you get back on there. Next thing you know, it's 10:30. Write that down too, because you're not going to bed at 9. You're not going to sleep at 9. So all that is good information. So step 1, write it all down. Every single thing, write it down. How long does it take you to eat? How long does it take you to get dressed? How long does it take you to commute? All that stuff, get it down on paper. Step 2 is to assess what you've written down. So put your experimenter's hat on, or your analyzer's hat, and look at what you've learned. So for a lot of us, it's going to be social media is a time suck. We are, we probably have these pockets of time that you're like, well, I wrote down that this took 30 minutes. It didn't have to, it just did because I was like kind of moving slowly. So find those pockets of opportunity, those areas that you're not using your time efficiently. Another way to do this is to look at ways that you could kind of lump things together or make better use of your time, work more efficiently. For example, if the grocery store is on the way home from work, instead of making a separate trip to the grocery store on Saturday, what if you swung by the grocery store after work on Friday? Now that's an entire trip back and forth that you're not having to do because it was on the way. So think a little bit outside the box with this and try to figure out, the number of hours is not going to change. As much as you might want it to, it's not going to change. So you have to figure out how to make better use of them. So that's one thing, is like grouping together activities. Maybe that means maybe you have a gym membership, say, but it's on the other side of town. It's away from work, it's away from where you socialize, it's out of the way no matter where you are. Maybe you want to consider finding a gym that's in kind of your central hub. Either it's at or close to home, at or close to work, somewhere in between the two, so that instead of it being, kind of this triangle business where you're going out of the way to hit the gym, now you're driving past it on the way to or from somewhere. So you might have to do some changing, some accommodating. Maybe the grocery store that you've been going to, like, yeah, it's your favorite, but it's not as convenient. Is there one right around the corner from your house that would get the job done most of the time? So thinking about things like that, where you can be more efficient and save time, and then also looking at just where your time sucks are. If you need to put a limit on your social media time, if you need to only check email during certain hours, if you need to start waking up a little bit earlier, if you need to start going to bed a little bit earlier, if you need to set parameters for your TV time, which is something that my husband and I just did, is we would just kind of want to unwind at the end of the day, and we're tired and we don't want to do anything super active, and like we just want to be at home relaxing, and we would watch 2, sometimes 3 hours of TV just mindlessly, not because we were really enjoying it, just because like that's what we did, and we were like on the couch already and like, what's one more? And we started limiting ourselves to just 1 hour, and we're getting a lot more done. Sometimes we're going to bed earlier and we actually have time to read our books or work on small projects that are kind of always on our to-do lists. We now have more time for those things because we're not wasting as much time mindlessly watching TV that we're not even really enjoying. So maybe that's a situation for you, that you're just spending more time doing certain things than you realized. Maybe your bathroom routine could use some revamping. Maybe you don't need to wash your hair every single day. Maybe you could go every second or third day, or whenever the last time I washed it was. Get a hat. That's right. It's a pro tip right there. So taking note of things like that. And then another way to do that is to be more proactive in what you're doing. So when you're making dinner at night, could you be simultaneously prepping your breakfast, prepping your lunch for tomorrow? You don't need to be waking up early in the morning, the following morning, to do those things, because you could have already done them the night before. Like, just trying to get more analytical with how can I make the things that I'm doing take less time, because what I need to do is open up windows of time for the things that are important to me, for exercise, for relaxation, decomposition, forget that, decompression is what I mean. De-stressing, now I'm like all thrown off and like thinking about dead bodies. Cooking, prepping, all those things. You need to find more time for those things, and figuring out where those pockets are, figuring out how you can kind of bundle together, just like you get your cable internet and something else, phone in one package? How can you bundle things together so that they're happening more efficiently? When you're doing laundry, could you also be chopping veggies while you're waiting to change it over? When you are doing dishes, could you also have a spaghetti squash in the oven so that it's cooked and ready to go for meals later? How can you be making the best use of your time so that you have more time for the things that are important to you? So step one, figure out where your time is going. Write down every single thing that you're doing for at least a day. Step two, assess that. Where is it going? How can you be more efficient? What needs to change? And then step three is plan, anticipate, and plan. And by that, I mean, now that you've identified these pockets of time, or you have grouped things together so that you have created a window of time, plan what's going to go in that window. If you cleared 30 minutes from your schedule by being more efficient in, the night before work, you did a bunch of stuff to prepare for the following day, now you have 30 extra minutes the following day. Don't just use it to, sleep in necessarily. Figure out, what am I going to do with this time? I just went out of my way to create this time, and now what do I want to do with it? Do I want to get in a run around the neighborhood or a walk around the neighborhood? Do I want to get home, get in an at-home workout? Do I want to leave for the gym and shower at the gym and go straight to work from there? There's all sorts of things that you can do with the pockets of time, but you need to make a plan for them. Don't just kind of wing it and say, oh, well, I have 30 minutes, and I'll sleep in for 10, and then you won't. So you really need to have a plan for what's going to happen when. If you keep a planner, write it in there. If you do iCalendar or Google Calendar or whatever, write it in there. Write down what you want to do in that time slot. Within that, so this is still step three, but it's like a sub-step, I guess, is anticipate obstacles. Anticipate what could go wrong. I'm going to say, to continue with this example, you have opened up this 30-minute window in the morning, and you've decided you are going to wake up and you're going to go for a walk around the neighborhood. The first thing I'm going to anticipate is that when the alarm goes off in the morning, my knee-jerk reaction is going to be to hit the snooze button. The walk sounded nice yesterday, but now I'd rather sleep. So what can you do anticipating that is likely to happen? What can you do to set yourself up for success in the morning, to actually follow through with what it is that you said that you want to do? Could you set your alarm clock across the room so that you have to physically get out of bed to shut it off? Could you put your sneakers right next to the bed so that when you get out of bed to turn the alarm off, you trip over your sneakers and you're like, oh, right, I said I was going to go for the walk. If you have to, you could sleep in the clothes. You could go for the walk in your pajamas. You could sleep in the clothes that you want to go for the walk in, just so that there are fewer things standing in your way. So anticipate what could stand in the way, and then make a plan for not letting that stand in your way. If you plan to go grocery shopping on the way home from work on Friday instead of a special trip on Saturday, you could, you have that planned out. You have the window of time. You have identified from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. is when I'm going to grocery shop. You've got it planned out. You're anticipating, I might not want to at 5 o'clock. I might be tired after my week, and the last thing that I want to do is go to the grocery store. So what could you do to make that more likely to happen? Could you schedule one of those grocery takeout things that you've already placed the order and you told them, I'm going to be there at 5 p.m. to pick it up, and now you have to go pick it up? There's always something that you can do to make it more likely that you're going to follow through with what you want to do. We always have good intentions when we plant the seed, when we formulate something, and then you have to kind of outsmart yourself. You say you want it now, so while you're motivated, while you have that clear brain, think about what your future self is going to try to say to get out of it. I'm tired, I'll do it tomorrow. So anticipate the excuses you're going to come up with, and then make a plan for how to get around them, how to just shoot those down and say, nope, I thought that might happen, and here's what I did to ensure that I wouldn't get derailed. So to recap, 3 steps to find time. Number 1, write down every single thing you're doing for a day or 2, maybe 3, to see where are you wasting time? Where do you have areas of opportunity? Number 2, assess that daily schedule that you just kept? Could you group together activities or responsibilities to be more efficient with them? Could you do things faster or in a different order or in a more logical way so that collectively they're taking up less time? That will help you uncover the pockets of time that you do have for your fitness, for your nutrition, for the things that are your goals or your priorities. And then plan out what you want to go in each of those newly available time slots. Anticipate what you are going to be up against in the moment. So anticipate any excuses or hurdles or issues that you're going to come across, and then make a plan for how to get around those, how to make sure that you still follow through with what you said you wanted to do, even when you're thinking of, trying to back out of it. I guess technically I could have broken that into 5 steps, but 3 minutes sounds simpler. But it really is. I mean, I know that you're probably thinking like, oh, I don't want to write down what I'm doing, like it's going to be embarrassing how much time I spend on my phone, or I don't want to address how much time I spend watching TV, because then once I know, I'm going to feel bad about it, and then I'm going to have to change it. Like, just take it one thing at a time. If things are important to you, you have to figure out how to make them work. And the number one, the first thing you have to do is figure out what's actually happening. Where is my time actually going? And then figure out how to make better use of it after that. So I will summarize this in the comments as well so that you can just review it really quickly. If you have any questions, let me know in the group, and I'll talk to you guys soon.